Sarah Mitchell woke up before the sun came up. She always did now. Sleep was hard to find these days. The small cabin felt cold in the early morning. She could hear her children sleeping in the next room. Tommy was 8 years old, and Emma was only 3. They needed her to be strong. She got out of bed and put on her old dress. It had holes in it, but she had no money for a new one. Her husband David had been dead for 8 months now. The mining accident took him away from them forever. Sarah was only 25 years old, but she felt much older. The kitchen was small and dark. Sarah lit a candle and looked around. There was not much food left. Some flour, a little bit of milk, and a few potatoes. She would have to make it, last until she could find more work in town. Sarah made breakfast for her children. It was not much, but it was all she had. Tommy came into the kitchen first. His brown hair was messy from sleep. His clothes were getting too small for him. He was growing fast, but Sarah could not buy him new ones. "Good morning, Mama," Tommy said. He was always polite, even when he was hungry. "Good morning, my sweet boy," Sarah said. She gave him a hug. "Are you hungry?" "A little," Tommy said. But Sarah knew he was very hungry. He was always hungry now. Emma came into the kitchen next. She was small for her age and very quiet. Since her father died, she did not talk much. She held on to Sarah's dress and did not let go. "Come here, baby girl," Sarah said. She picked up Emma and held her close. Emma was getting thin. Sarah could feel her small bones through her nightgown. They ate their small breakfast together. Sarah tried to smile and talk about happy things, but it was hard. She was very worried about money. The bank wanted her to pay for the house. She owed them a lot of money. If she could not pay, they would take the house away. After breakfast, Sarah walked to town with her children. It was a long walk, but they had no horse. David's horse had been sold to pay for his funeral. The town of Willowbrook was small. There were not many jobs for women. Sarah went to the general store first. Mr. Peterson owned the store. He was a kind man, but business was not good. "I am sorry, Mrs. Mitchell," Mr. Peterson said. "I cannot give you more work right now, maybe next month." Sarah's heart felt heavy. She needed work now, not next month. She tried 3 other places in town. The answer was always the same: no work. At the church, Pastor Williams was kind to her. He gave her some food for the children, but Sarah felt bad taking charity. She wanted to work for her money. "These are hard times for everyone," Pastor Williams said. "God will provide." Sarah wanted to believe him, but it was hard to have faith when her children were hungry. On the way home, they passed the Carson Ranch. It was a big ranch with many cows and horses. Jake Carson owned it. Sarah had seen him in town a few times. He was a quiet man who kept to himself. People said his wife had died 3 years ago. He had a daughter named Lucy who was 10 years old. The ranch house was big and white. It had 2 floors and a wide porch. Smoke came from the chimney. It looked warm and safe. Sarah wondered what it would be like to live in such a house. Tommy saw the horses in the field. "Look, Mama, look at all the horses." "They are beautiful," Sarah said. She had always loved horses. David had promised to buy her one someday. But that dream died with him. A little girl came out of the house. It was Lucy Carson. She had long, brown hair and wore a pretty blue dress. She looked lonely standing on the porch by herself. "Can I go say hello?" Tommy asked. "We should not bother them," Sarah said. But she felt sorry for the little girl. Lucy looked as lonely as they felt. They walked home to their small cabin. Sarah looked at the letter from the bank again. She had 1 month to pay the money she owed. If she could not pay, she and her children would have nowhere to live. That night, Sarah put her children to bed. She told them a story about a princess who lived in a castle. Emma fell asleep in her arms. Tommy tried to stay awake, but his eyes closed, too. Sarah went outside and sat on the steps. The night was quiet and cold. She looked up at the stars and thought about David. He had been a good husband and father. He worked hard in the mines to take care of them. Now he was gone, and Sarah did not know what to do. She thought about her children. They needed food and warm clothes. They needed a safe place to live. Tommy needed to go to school. Emma needed to laugh and play like other children. Sarah wiped tears from her eyes. She had to be strong. She had to find a way to take care of her family. But she was so tired and scared. The next morning, Sarah decided to try looking for work in the next town. It was far away, but maybe someone there would hire her. She asked Mrs. Johnson, their neighbor, to watch the children. "Of course, dear," Mrs. Johnson said. "But be careful. It is a long way to travel alone." Sarah walked for hours to reach the next town. Her feet hurt and she was very tired. But she had to try. At the town, she went to every store and every house. She asked if anyone needed help with cooking or cleaning or taking care of children. But the answer was always no. People were kind, but they had no work to give her. On the way home, Sarah felt very sad. What would happen to her children? Where would they live? How would they eat? As she walked past the Carson ranch again, she saw Jake Carson working with his horses. He was tall and strong. His clothes were clean and new. He looked up and saw her walking by. Jake touched his hat and nodded to her. Sarah nodded back. For a moment their eyes met. Sarah saw something in his eyes. It was not pity. It was understanding. Like he knew what it felt like to be alone. That night, Sarah could not sleep. She sat by the window and looked out at the dark fields. Somewhere in the distance she could see the lights from the Carson ranch. She wondered what Jake Carson was doing. Was he lonely too? Was he worried about his daughter? Sarah did not know that Jake Carson was sitting by his window too. He was thinking about the sad woman who walked past his ranch every day. He knew she was in trouble. He had heard people in town talking about her. They said she might lose her house. Jake thought about his daughter Lucy. She needed a mother. And maybe, just maybe, he could help the widow and her children too. Sarah was hanging wet clothes on the line behind her cabin. The morning air was cold and her hands were red from the cold water. Tommy was playing with some old wooden blocks that had belonged to his father. Emma sat in the dirt, picking up small stones and putting them in a pile. Sarah heard the sound of a horse coming up the path to her house. Her heart started beating fast. People only came to her house when there was bad news. Maybe it was someone from the bank. Maybe they were coming to take her house away right now. She wiped her hands on her apron and walked around to the front of the cabin. A man on a big brown horse was stopping near her front steps. Sarah recognized him right away. It was Jake Carson, from the big ranch. Jake got off his horse slowly. He took off his hat and held it in his hands. His hair was dark brown with some gray in it. He looked nervous, like he did not know what to say. "Good morning, Mrs. Mitchell," Jake said. His voice was deep and quiet. "Good morning, Mr. Carson," Sarah said. She felt confused. Why was he here? She had never talked to him before except to say hello in town. Tommy came running around the corner of the house. He stopped when he saw the big horse. His eyes got wide with excitement. "Wow. Is that your horse?" Tommy asked. Jake looked down at the boy and smiled a little. "Yes, this is Thunder. He is a good horse." "Can I pet him?" Tommy asked. "Tommy, do not bother Mr. Carson," Sarah said quickly. "It is no trouble," Jake said. "Thunder likes children." He held the horse's rope while Tommy carefully touched the horse's nose. Thunder was gentle and stood very still. Emma came around the corner too. She hid behind Sarah's dress and peeked out at the stranger. "Mrs. Mitchell," Jake said, "I was wondering if I could talk to you about something important." Sarah felt worried. "What about?" "Maybe we could sit down," Jake said. He looked at the old wooden chairs on her small porch. Sarah nodded. They sat down, and the children played nearby. Tommy kept looking at the horse. Emma stayed close to her mother. Jake was quiet. For a minute, he looked down at his hat in his hands, then he looked up at Sarah. "I heard in town that you might be having some troubles," he said. Sarah felt her face get hot. She did not like people talking about her problems. "We are managing fine," she said. "I did not mean to embarrass you," Jake said quickly. I just thought maybe I could help. I do not need charity, Sarah said. She sat up straight in her chair. It is not charity, Jake said. It is business. Sarah looked at him with surprise. Business? Jake was quiet again. He seemed to be thinking about what to say next. My wife died 3 years ago, he said finally. My daughter Lucy is 10 years old. She needs a woman to take care of her, to teach her things that a father cannot teach. Sarah did not know what to say. She waited for him to continue. I have been thinking about this for a long time, Jake said. I need someone to help with Lucy and to take care of the house. You need a safe place for your children and food on the table. Sarah felt her heart beating fast again. She thought she understood what he was saying, but she was not sure. What exactly are you asking me, Mr. Carson? She said. Jake looked right at her. I am asking you to marry me, Mrs. Mitchell, not for love, but as a business arrangement, to help both our families. Sarah felt like she could not breathe. Marriage? To this man she barely knew? I know it sounds strange, Jake continued. But think about it. You would have a big house for your children, good food every day. Your son could go to school. Your daughter could grow up safe and healthy. And what would you get? Sarah asked. Someone to take care of Lucy, Jake said. Someone to cook and clean and make the house feel like a home again. Someone to help me raise my daughter to be a good woman. Sarah looked at her children. Tommy was still petting the horse. Emma was playing with her stones again. They both looked so thin and small. This is very sudden, Sarah said. I know, Jake said, but I've been watching your family for weeks. I see how hard you work. I see how much you love your children. I think you would be good for Lucy. You do not know anything about me, Sarah said. I know you are a good mother, Jake said. I know you are strong. In this hard life, those are the most important things. Sarah thought about the letter from the bank that was sitting on her kitchen table. She thought about how little food they had left. She thought about winter coming and how cold their little cabin would be. What about Lucy? She asked. What does she think about this idea? She does not know yet, Jake said. I wanted to talk to you first, but she is lonely. She needs a mother figure in her life. And your feelings? Sarah asked. What about love? Jake was quiet for a long time. My wife was the love of my life, he said finally. When she died, that part of me died too. I am not looking for love again. I am looking for partnership, for help raising children. Sarah understood. She had loved David with all her heart. The idea of loving someone else seemed impossible. Would need time to think, she said. Of course, Jake said, but maybe you could come see the ranch first, see the house, meet Lucy, then you can decide. Tommy came running over to them. Mama, can we go see his ranch? Can we see more horses? Sarah looked at her son's excited face. When was the last time she had seen him so happy? Would tomorrow be good? Jake asked. Sarah thought about it. What could it hurt to just look? Yes, she said. We could come tomorrow afternoon. Jake stood up and put his hat back on his head. Good. Lucy will be excited to meet you all. He got back on his horse. Mrs. Mitchell, he said, I know this is not the way people usually do things, but these are not usual times. Sometimes we have to think about what is practical instead of what is romantic. After Jake rode away, Sarah sat on her porch for a long time. Marriage to a stranger, moving to a big ranch, becoming a mother to a girl she had never met. Tommy came and sat next to her. Mama, are we going to live on the ranch? He asked. I do not know yet, Sarah said. What do you think about that idea? I think it would be fun, Tommy said. There are so many horses, and the house is so big. That night, Sarah could not sleep again. She kept thinking about Jake Carson's offer. It was not the kind of marriage she had dreamed about when she was young. There would be no romance, no love, no special feelings, but there would be safety. There would be food for her children. There would be a warm house and good clothes, and a chance for Tommy to go to school. Was it wrong to marry someone for practical reasons instead of love? Sarah did not know. All she knew was that her children needed to eat, They needed a safe place to live. And winter was coming soon. Maybe love was a luxury she could not afford anymore. Maybe being a good mother meant making hard choices. Maybe marrying Jake Carson was the answer to all their problems. Or maybe it would create new problems she had not thought about yet. Sarah pulled her thin blanket up to her chin and tried to sleep. Tomorrow she would see the ranch. Tomorrow she would meet Lucy. Tomorrow she would have to start making the most important decision of her life. Sarah spent the morning getting her children ready for the visit to the Carson ranch. She washed their faces and hands extra carefully. She combed Tommy's hair with water to make it stay down. She put Emma in her best dress, even though it was getting too small. Sarah looked at herself in the small mirror on the wall. Her dress was old and faded, but it was clean. Her brown hair was pulled back neatly. She looked tired, but she tried to smile. She wanted to make a good impression, even though she was not sure why. "Are we really going to see the big house?" Tommy asked for the 10th time. "Yes, we are," Sarah said. "But remember to be polite. Say please and thank you." "I will, Mama," Tommy said. Emma held onto Sarah's hand tightly. She was still very shy around new people. The walk to the Carson ranch took about 20 minutes. As they got closer, Sarah felt nervous. What if Lucy did not like her? What if Jake changed his mind? What if this was all a big mistake? The ranch was even bigger than it looked from the road. There were many buildings: the big white house, a red barn, a chicken coop, and several other smaller buildings. Cows were eating grass in the big fields. Horses ran freely in another field. Tommy stopped walking and stared. "Wow," he said quietly. Jake Carson came out of the barn when he saw them coming. He was wearing clean clothes and his best hat. He looked nervous, too. "Good afternoon, Mrs. Mitchell," he said. "Thank you for coming." "Thank you for inviting us," Sarah said. A girl came out of the house and stood on the porch. She had long brown hair and braids and wore a pretty yellow dress. This had to be Lucy. She looked curious but shy. "Lucy, come meet our visitors," Jake called. Lucy walked slowly toward them. She looked at Sarah, then at Tommy and Emma. "This is Mrs. Mitchell and her children Tommy and Emma," Jake said. "This is my daughter Lucy." "Hello," Lucy said quietly. She was a pretty girl with her father's dark eyes. "Hello, Lucy," Sarah said. "What a lovely dress you have." Lucy smiled a little. "Thank you, I made it myself." "You made it?" Sarah was impressed. "You are very talented. My grandmother taught me to sew before she died," Lucy said. Tommy was looking around at everything. He saw a dog lying in the shade of a tree. "Is that your dog?" Tommy asked Lucy. "Yes, that is Rusty," Lucy said. "He is very friendly." Tommy looked at his mother. Sarah nodded and Tommy ran over to pet the dog. Rusty wagged his tail and licked Tommy's face. Tommy laughed, a sound Sarah had not heard in a long time. "Would you like to see the house?" Jake asked. They walked up the steps to the front porch. The porch was wide with 2 rocking chairs. Sarah could imagine sitting there in the evening watching the sunset. Inside, the house was beautiful. The front room was large with a stone fireplace. There were comfortable chairs and a sofa. Pictures hung on the walls. Everything was clean, but felt empty somehow. "This is the kitchen," Jake said, leading them to the next room. Sarah gasped quietly. The kitchen was huge compared to her tiny cabin kitchen. There was a big stove, lots of cabinets, and a large table with 6 chairs. Sunlight came through windows with real glass. "It is beautiful," Sarah said. "Lucy does most of the cooking now," Jake said. "But it is hard for her. She is still learning." Sarah looked at Lucy. 10 years old was very young to be doing all the cooking for a family. "I like to cook," Sarah said to Lucy. "Maybe you could teach me some of the things you make." Lucy's face brightened. "I make good biscuits," she said, "and beef stew." "I would love to learn," Sarah said. They continued through the house. There were 4 bedrooms upstairs and 1 downstairs. Each bedroom was bigger than Sarah's entire cabin. "Tommy and Emma could share this room," Jake said, showing them a bedroom with 2 beds. Or Emma could have her own room if she wanted. Tommy's eyes got wide. My own bed? He asked. Your own bed, Jake confirmed. Emma was still holding Sarah's hand, but she was looking around with interest. She pointed to a doll sitting on a chair in Lucy's room. That is my doll, Rebecca, Lucy said. Would you like to hold her? Emma nodded shyly. Lucy picked up the doll and gave it to Emma. Emma hugged the doll close and smiled. She likes you, Sarah said to Lucy. I always wanted a little sister, Lucy said quietly. They went back downstairs to the kitchen. Jake made coffee for the adults and gave the children milk and cookies. Real cookies, not the hard biscuits Sarah had to make with so little flour. The ranch has been in my family for 15 years, Jake explained. We have 50 cows and 20 horses. We sell beef and milk to towns around here. It must be a lot of work, Sarah said. It is, but it pays well. There is always food on the table and money for clothes and other things we need. Sarah thought about the bank letter again. All her money worries could be over if she said yes to this arrangement. Can I show Tommy the horses? Lucy asked her father. If Mrs. Mitchell says it is okay, Jake said. Sarah nodded. Lucy took Tommy's hand and led him outside. Emma went with them, still holding the doll. Sarah and Jake were alone in the kitchen. It felt strange to be alone with this man she barely knew. What do you think? Jake asked. It is a beautiful place, Sarah said. Lucy seems like a sweet girl. She is lonely, Jake said. She tries to be grown up, but she is still just a child. She needs a woman to talk to about girl things, to help her learn how to be a lady. And the arrangement? Sarah asked. How would it work exactly? Jake looked down at his coffee cup. We would have a simple wedding. You and your children would move here. You would take care of the house and the children. I would provide for everyone. And sleeping arrangements? Sarah asked, feeling her face get hot. You would have your own room, Jake said quickly. This would be a marriage in name only, for the children's sake and for practical reasons. Sarah felt relieved but also a little sad. It would be strange to be married but not really married. I would not tell you how to raise your children, Jake continued. But I would hope you would help me with Lucy. Of course, Sarah said. She seems like she would be easy to love. Through the window they could see the children playing with Rusty in the yard. Tommy was throwing a stick for the dog. Lucy was pushing Emma on a tire swing that hung from a big tree. All three children were laughing. They seemed to like each other, Jake observed. Yes, Sarah said. That is important. There is something else, Jake said. If you ever wanted to leave, if this arrangement did not work out, I would give you money to start over somewhere else. You would not be trapped here. Sarah was surprised. Most men would not make such an offer. Why would you do that? She asked. Because I want you to stay because you want to, not because you have no choice, Jake said. Sarah looked out the window again. Her children looked happier than they had in months. Tommy was laughing as he chased the dog. Emma was clapping her hands as Lucy pushed the swing higher. When would you need an answer? Sarah asked. The bank wants your house payment next week, Jake said quietly. I heard in town. Sarah was embarrassed that everyone knew about her money troubles. But Jake's voice was kind, not judgmental. So soon, she said. If you say yes, I will go to the bank tomorrow and pay what you owe, Jake said. You would not have to worry about money anymore. It was a generous offer. Almost too generous. Why are you being so kind to us? Sarah asked. You barely know us. Jake was quiet for a moment. Because I know what it feels like to be alone and scared, he said finally. When my wife died, people helped me and Lucy. Now I can help someone else. The children came back into the house all excited about the animals they had seen. Mama, there are baby chickens, Tommy said. And Lucy said I could help collect eggs. Really? Sarah said, smiling at her son's excitement. And Emma could help feed the chickens, Lucy added. They are very gentle. Emma nodded enthusiastically, still holding the doll. As the afternoon ended, Sarah knew she had to make her decision soon. This could be the answer to all their problems. A safe home, good food, security for her children, but it would also mean marrying a man she did not love. Living as a wife but not really being a wife. Giving up her independence and her small cabin that held so many memories of David. "Thank you for showing us your home," Sarah said as they prepared to leave. "Thank you for coming," Jake said. "I hope you will consider my offer." As they walked home, Tommy talked non-stop about all the animals he had seen. Emma had fallen asleep in Sarah's arms, still holding Lucy's doll. "Are we going to live there, Mama?" Tommy asked. "I am still thinking about it," Sarah said. "I hope we do," Tommy said. "Lucy is nice and there is so much food." That night, after putting her children to bed, Sarah sat at her small kitchen table. The bank letter lay in front of her, demanding payment she did not have. She thought about Jake's offer. It was practical. It would solve all her problems, but it felt strange to marry someone for reasons other than love. Then she thought about her children's laughter that afternoon. When was the last time she had seen them so happy and carefree? Maybe love could grow over time. Maybe friendship and respect were good foundations for a marriage. Maybe she was being foolish to worry about romance when her children's future was at stake. Sarah looked around her small cabin. It was all she had left of her life with David. But David was gone, and she had to think about the living now. She pulled out a piece of paper and began to write a letter to Jake Carson. Sarah stared at the blank piece of paper for a long time. What should she write? How do you tell a man you will marry him for practical reasons instead of love? She picked up her pen and began to write. "Dear Mr. Carson, thank you for your kind offer. After much thought, I accept your proposal. I believe this arrangement will be good for both our families. Please let me know when you would like to have the wedding. Sincerely, Mrs. Sarah Mitchell." Sarah read the letter 3 times. It sounded so formal and cold, but maybe that was best. This was a business arrangement, not a love story. The next morning, Sarah walked to the Carson ranch with the letter. Her hands shook a little as she knocked on the door. Jake answered, looking surprised to see her so early. "Mrs. Mitchell," he said. "Good morning." "I have brought you my answer," Sarah said, handing him the letter. Jake read it quickly. His face did not show much emotion, but Sarah thought she saw relief in his eyes. "I am glad," he said simply. "This will be good for everyone." "When did you want to have the wedding?" Sarah asked. "As soon as possible," Jake said. "Maybe this Saturday? Pastor Williams could marry us at the church." Saturday was only 4 days away. Sarah felt nervous about everything happening so fast. "That soon?" she asked. "The sooner we marry, the sooner I can help with your money problems," Jake said. "And the children can start their new life here." Sarah nodded. It made sense. "I will need to pack our things." "Of course. And Mrs. Mitchell, Sarah, you should know that I went to the bank yesterday and paid your debt. Your house is safe now, no matter what you decide." Sarah stared at him. "You paid my debt, but why? We were not even engaged yet." "Because it was the right thing to do," Jake said. "You can sell the house and keep the money. It will give you something of your own." Sarah felt tears in her eyes. No one had been so kind to her since David died. "I do not know how to thank you," she said. "Just be good to Lucy," Jake said. "That is all the thanks I need." Sarah walked home feeling confused. Jake Carson was a good man. Maybe this marriage would work out better than she thought. That afternoon, Sarah told her children about the wedding. "Are going to marry Mr. Carson?" Tommy asked, his eyes wide. "Yes," Sarah said. "That means we will go live on his ranch. Lucy will be like your sister." "Will he be my new papa?" Tommy asked. Sarah felt her heart hurt. Tommy had loved his father so much. "He will take care of us like a father," Sarah said carefully. "But your real papa will always be your papa. We will never forget him." Tommy thought about this. "Okay," he said finally. "I like Mr. Carson, and I really like the horses." Emma did not understand much about marriage, but she clapped her hands. when Sarah told her they would live with Lucy and the doll. The next few days passed quickly. Sarah packed their few belongings into 2 small bags. She cleaned the cabin one last time. She said goodbye to Mrs. Johnson and the other neighbors. Wendy. Friday night, Sarah could not sleep. Tomorrow she would become Mrs. Jake Carson. Tomorrow her whole life would change. Saturday morning came too quickly. Sarah dressed in her best dress, the blue one she had worn to marry David 5 years ago. It felt strange to wear it again for another wedding. Pastor Williams was waiting at the small church. Jake was there in his best suit. He looked handsome and nervous. Lucy stood beside him in a new pink dress. She smiled when she saw Sarah and the children come in. There were only a few people at the wedding. Mrs. Johnson had come, and a few other neighbors. Jake's friend Tom Wilson was there to be his witness. The ceremony was short and simple. Pastor Williams read from the Bible about marriage. Sarah and Jake said their vows quietly. When Pastor Williams said, "You may kiss the bride," Jake just squeezed Sarah's hand gently instead. "I now pronounce you husband and wife," Pastor Williams said. Sarah was now Mrs. Carson. It felt strange and scary and hopeful all at the same time. After the ceremony, they all went to the ranch. Lucy had made a special dinner with Tom Wilson's wife helping her. The table was set with the good dishes. There was roast beef, mashed potatoes, green beans, and fresh bread. For dessert, Lucy had made a cake. "This is delicious," Sarah told Lucy. "You are a wonderful cook." Lucy beamed with pride. "I wanted everything to be perfect for your first dinner as a family." Tommy ate more food than Sarah had seen him eat in months. Emma sat in a special high chair that Jake had made for her. She kept looking around the big dining room with wonder. After dinner, Jake showed Sarah and the children to their rooms. Tommy and Emma would share the room they had seen before. It had been cleaned and prepared with new sheets and blankets. "This is your room," Jake said, opening the door to a large bedroom at the end of the hall. The room was beautiful. It had a big bed with a colorful quilt, a dresser, and a chair by the window. There were flowers in a vase on the dresser. "Lucy picked the flowers," Jake said. "She wanted to make you feel welcome." "It is lovely," Sarah said. "Thank you." Jake showed her where to put her clothes and gave her clean towels. "If you need anything, just ask," he said. "Good night, Sarah." "Good night, Jake," she said. It felt strange to call him by his first name. After Jake left, Sarah sat on the bed and looked around her new room. It was bigger than her entire old cabin. Everything was clean and comfortable. She should feel happy. But she felt lonely. For the first time in 8 months, her children were sleeping in a different room. She was married, but not really married. She was in a beautiful house, but it did not feel like home yet. Sarah put on her nightgown and got into the big bed. The sheets were soft and smelled like sunshine. The mattress was comfortable. But Sarah missed her small, hard bed in the cabin. At least there she could hear her children breathing in the next room. Down the hall, Jake was lying in his bed thinking, too. The house felt different with other people in it. It was not so quiet and empty anymore. He could hear Tommy and Emma talking softly in their room. He could hear Sarah moving around as she got ready for bed. Jake thought about his first wife, Mary. He had loved her so much. Their marriage had been full of love and laughter. This marriage would be different, but maybe it could be good in its own way. In Lucy's room, the little girl was too excited to sleep. She finally had a mother figure, someone to talk to about girl things, someone to help her with her hair and her dresses, someone to make the house feel warm and happy again. Lucy had been lonely for so long. Her father tried his best, but he did not understand things like how to braid hair or what to do when she had bad dreams. Now Sarah was here. Lucy hoped Sarah would like being her stepmother. Tommy was excited too. He had his own bed with soft blankets. Tomorrow he could play with the horses again. Lucy had promised to teach him how to milk a cow, and there would be good food every day. Only Emma had fallen asleep quickly. She was too young to understand all the changes. All she knew was that she felt safe and warm. As the night went on, The house settled into quiet. It was the first night of their new life together. It would take time for them all to adjust, but it was a beginning. In the morning, Sarah woke up confused for a moment. Where was she? Then she remembered. She was Mrs. Carson now. She lived on a ranch. Her children were safe and well fed. She got dressed and went downstairs to the kitchen. Jake was already there, drinking coffee. He looked up when she came in. "Good morning," he said. "Did you sleep well?" "Yes, thank you," Sarah lied. She had barely slept at all. "I usually get up early to do the chores," Jake said, "but today I waited. I thought maybe you would like to cook breakfast for everyone." Sarah smiled. It felt good to have a purpose, something useful to do. "I would like that very much," she said. As Sarah began to cook breakfast, she heard the children waking up upstairs. Soon Tommy and Emma came running down, excited about their first morning in their new home. "Look, Mama," Tommy said. "I can see the horses from our window." Lucy came down too, her hair in a long braid. "Good morning, Sarah," she said shyly. "Good morning, sweetheart," Sarah said. The word sweetheart came out naturally, and Lucy's face lit up with happiness. As they all sat around the big table eating breakfast, Sarah looked at her new family. It was not what she had planned for her life, but maybe it was what they all needed. Maybe the strange arrangement would work out after all. The first week of marriage was not easy. Everyone was trying to learn how to live together. Sarah felt like she was walking on thin ice, not sure what was expected of her. On Monday morning, Jake left early to work with the cattle. Sarah was alone, with the 3 children for the first time. She felt nervous about taking care of Lucy. What if she did something wrong? "What do you usually do in the mornings?" Sarah asked Lucy. "I feed the chickens and collect the eggs," Lucy said. "Then I start preparing lunch for Papa." "Can Tommy and Emma help you with the chickens?" Sarah asked. Lucy nodded eagerly. "I would like that." They all went outside together. Lucy showed Tommy how to scatter corn for the chickens. She taught Emma how to pet the gentle hens. When it was time to collect eggs, Lucy let Tommy carry the basket. "Look, Mama," Tommy called. "I found 6 eggs." Sarah smiled. Tommy looked so proud and happy. This was good for him. Back in the house, Lucy began preparing lunch. Sarah watched her work. The girl was skilled, but she looked tired. She had been doing a woman's work for too long. "Lucy," Sarah said gently, "why do you not go play for a while? I will make lunch today." "But Papa expects me to cook," Lucy said, looking worried. "I am here now," Sarah said. "It is my job to cook. You should have time to be a child." Lucy looked uncertain. "Are you sure?" "I am sure," Sarah said. "Go play with Tommy and Emma." For the first time in years, Lucy went outside to play instead of working in the kitchen. Sarah could hear her laughing with the other children. It was a good sound. When Jake came home for lunch, he looked surprised to see Sarah cooking instead of Lucy. "Where is Lucy?" he asked. "Playing outside," Sarah said. "I thought she should have some time to be a child." Jake looked out the window at his daughter. Lucy was pushing Emma on the swing while Tommy chased Rusty around the yard. "She has been doing too much," Jake said quietly. "I did not know what else to do." "She is a good girl," Sarah said. "But she is only 10 years old. Let me take care of the house now." Jake nodded. "Thank you," he said. "I think you are right." That afternoon, Sarah started teaching Emma her letters. The little girl was bright and eager to learn. Lucy asked if she could help. "I would love your help," Sarah said. "You could teach Tommy some arithmetic while I work with Emma." Lucy was a patient teacher. Soon she and Tommy were working with numbers while Sarah and Emma practiced the alphabet. It felt like a real family doing lessons together. But not everything was easy. That night at dinner, Tommy asked Jake a question about horses. Jake started to answer, but then he stopped and looked uncomfortable. "You should ask your real father about horses," Jake said. Tommy's face fell. "But my real papa is dead," he said, quietly. Sarah felt her heart break. Jake looked sorry for what he had said. "I am sorry, Tommy," Jake said. "I meant I meant that I am not your real father. I do not want to take his place. But you could still teach me about horses, Tommy said hopefully. Jake looked at Sarah. She nodded encouragingly. Yes, Jake said finally. I can teach you about horses. Tommy smiled again. Sarah was glad that Jake was trying to be good to her son. On Tuesday, there was another problem. Emma had a bad dream and woke up crying. Sarah went to comfort her, but Emma kept crying. I want Papa. I want my Papa. Emma sobbed. Sarah held her daughter close. I know, baby. I know you miss Papa. Lucy appeared in the doorway. Is she okay? Lucy asked. She misses her father, Sarah explained. Lucy came into the room and sat on the bed. I miss my mama too, she said softly to Emma. Sometimes I cry about it. Emma looked up at Lucy with wet eyes. You do? Yes, Lucy said. But it gets easier, and now we have each other. Emma stopped crying and let Lucy hold her hand. We are sisters now, Lucy said. Sisters help each other when they are sad. Sarah felt tears in her own eyes. These children were learning to comfort each other. Maybe they really could become a family. Wednesday brought a different challenge. Sarah was making bread when she realized she was doing everything differently than Jake's first wife had done it. The bread was a different recipe. She arranged the kitchen differently. She even folded the laundry in a new way. When Jake came in for lunch, he looked around the kitchen with a strange expression. Something wrong? Sarah asked. It is just different, Jake said. Mary used to make bread on Thursdays. Sarah felt awkward. She was changing things that reminded Jake of his first wife. I can make bread on Thursdays if you prefer, she offered. No, Jake said quickly. I do not want you to be like Mary. I want you to be yourself. It is just taking some getting used to. That evening, Jake found Sarah sitting on the front porch after the children had gone to bed. May I sit with you? He asked. Of course, Sarah said. It is your porch. It is our porch now, Jake said, sitting in the other rocking chair. They sat quietly for a while, listening to the sounds of the night. Finally, Jake spoke. I want you to know that you are doing a good job, he said. The children are happier than they have been in a long time. Thank you, Sarah said. They are good children, all of them. Lucy adores you already, Jake said. She told me today that she hopes you will teach her how to make your bread recipe. Sarah smiled. I would be happy to teach her. And Sarah, Jake said, I want you to change things. Make this house feel like your home too. Mary is gone. This is your kitchen now, your house now. Sarah felt grateful for his words. It will take time, she said. I know, Jake said. We all need time to adjust. By Thursday, things were getting easier. The children had settled into new routines. Tommy helped Jake with small chores around the ranch. Lucy was learning to cook from Sarah, but also had time to play. Emma was speaking more and seemed happier. Every day, Sarah was learning too. She learned that Jake liked his coffee strong and his eggs cooked soft. She learned that he was quiet in the mornings, but liked to talk about his day at dinner time. She learned that he was gentle with the children, but firm when they misbehaved. Jake was learning about Sarah too. He learned that she hummed while she cooked. He learned that she told wonderful bedtime stories to the children. He learned that she was stronger than she looked but worried about everything. On Friday evening, something special happened. After dinner, Lucy asked Sarah to braid her hair in a new way she had seen on a girl in town. I do not know if I can do it right, Sarah said. Please try, Lucy said. Sarah worked carefully with Lucy's long hair, trying to create the complicated braid. Tommy and Emma watched with interest. Jake pretended to read his newspaper, but Sarah noticed he was watching too. When Sarah finished, Lucy ran to look in the mirror. It is beautiful, she exclaimed. Thank you, Sarah. Lucy threw her arms around Sarah and hugged her tight. I love you, Lucy whispered. Sarah felt tears come to her eyes. I love you too, sweetheart, she whispered back. It was the first time any of them had said those words, but it felt right and natural. That night, as Sarah got ready for bed, she realized something had changed. For the first time since the wedding, the house felt a little bit like home. The children felt a little bit like a real family. She was not in love with Jake Carson, but she was beginning to care about him, and she already loved Lucy like her own daughter. Maybe this arrangement could work. Maybe they could build something good together, even without romantic love. On Saturday morning, Sarah woke up feeling hopeful for the first time in months. She could hear the children talking and laughing in their rooms. She could smell coffee brewing downstairs. Jake must be awake already. Sarah got dressed and went downstairs. Jake was in the kitchen making coffee just the way she liked it. "Good morning," he said, smiling at her. "Good morning," she replied. As she started making breakfast, Sarah realized that Jake's smile looked different today. It was warmer, more natural. Maybe he was beginning to feel at home with this new arrangement too. The children came running downstairs, all talking at once about their plans for the day. Tommy wanted to help Jake fix a fence. Lucy wanted to show Emma how to churn butter. Emma wanted to pick flowers for the kitchen table. As they all sat around the breakfast table, chattering and planning, Sarah looked at each face. Tommy looked healthy and strong again. Emma was talking more every day. Lucy seemed more like a child and less like a little adult. And Jake looked content, peaceful, like a man who was no longer lonely. It had been exactly 1 week since their wedding. They were not a perfect family yet. They were still learning about each other, still adjusting to their new life. But they were becoming something good, something real, something that might last. Love might come later, Sarah thought. For now, friendship and caring were enough. 2 months had passed since the wedding. The leaves on the trees were turning yellow and red. The air was getting colder, and Sarah was glad her children had a warm house to live in this winter. Life on the ranch had settled into comfortable routines. Sarah woke up early to make breakfast. Jake did his morning chores with Tommy helping when he could. Lucy and Emma had become true sisters, playing together and sharing secrets. After lunch, Sarah taught all 3 children their lessons. In the evenings, they gathered around the fireplace while Sarah told stories or Jake played his guitar. Yes, Jake played guitar. Sarah had discovered this on a quiet Sunday evening when he brought out an old guitar from his closet. "I did not know you played music," Sarah had said. "I am not very good," Jake replied, looking embarrassed. "Mary used to ask me to play for her sometimes." "Would you play something for us?" Sarah asked. Jake had played a gentle song while the children listened with wide eyes. His voice was deep and pleasant. Sarah found herself enjoying the music more than she expected. Now he played almost every evening. Sometimes Lucy sang along. Sometimes they all sang together. It made the house feel warm and happy. But the best change was in Jake himself. He smiled more often now. He laughed at Tommy's jokes. He was patient when Emma climbed on his lap during story time. He helped Lucy with her arithmetic without getting frustrated. One evening in October, something happened that changed everything. Sarah was washing dishes after dinner when she heard Jake call out in pain from the barn. She ran outside and found him on the ground holding his leg. "What happened?" she asked, kneeling beside him. "The horse kicked me," Jake said through gritted teeth. "I think my leg might be broken." Sarah felt scared. "Tommy, Lucy," she called. "Come help me." The children came running. Together they helped Jake into the house and onto the sofa. Sarah could see that his leg was badly hurt. It was already swelling and turning purple. "I need to get the doctor," Sarah said. "No," Jake said. "It costs too much money to bring the doctor out here." "Jake Carson, this is no time to worry about money," Sarah said firmly. "Tommy, you ride Thunder to town and get Dr. Miller. Tell him to come right away." Tommy nodded and ran out to saddle the horse. Sarah had never seen him move so fast. While they waited for the doctor, Sarah took care of Jake. She made him comfortable with pillows. She brought him water and medicine for the pain. She stayed calm even though she was very worried inside. Lucy helped by keeping Emma busy in the kitchen. The little girl was scared to see Jake hurt. "Is Papa Jake going to be okay?" Emma asked. She had started calling Jake Papa Jake on her own, and he seemed to like it. "The doctor will fix him," Lucy said confidently. But Sarah could see that. Lucy was scared too. Dr. Miller arrived 2 hours later. He examined Jake's leg carefully. "It is broken," the doctor said, "but it should heal well if you stay off it for 6 weeks." 6 weeks, Jake said. "But the ranch work?" "The ranch work will wait," Sarah said. "Your health is more important." Dr. Miller set Jake's leg and wrapped it in bandages. He gave Sarah instructions for taking care of the injury. After the doctor left, Sarah helped Jake to his bedroom downstairs. It was the first time she had been in his room. It was simple and clean, with a large bed and a dresser. Pictures of his first wife sat on the dresser. "I am sorry to be so much trouble," Jake said as Sarah helped him into bed. "You are not trouble," Sarah said. "You are family. Family takes care of each other." Over the next few days, Sarah learned a lot about taking care of a ranch. Jake tried to tell her what to do from his bed, but there was much she had to figure out herself. Tommy was a big help. Even though he was only 8 years old, he knew a lot about animals from watching Jake. He helped Sarah feed the horses and collect eggs from the chickens. Lucy took over more of the cooking, so Sarah could spend time outside. Emma tried to help, too, though mostly she just followed everyone around asking questions. The hardest part was milking the cows. Sarah had never done it before, and the cows seemed to know she was inexperienced. The first few times, she got more milk on herself than in the bucket. "You have to be firm with them," Jake instructed from the doorway where he sat in a chair watching her. "They need to know you are in charge." "I am trying," Sarah said, wiping milk off her face. "They do not seem to respect me yet." "It takes time," Jake said, smiling. "You are doing better than I did my first week." By the end of the first week, Sarah was getting better at the ranch work, but she was exhausted. Taking care of Jake, the children, the house, and the animals was more work than she had ever done. One evening, she sat on the front porch after everyone had gone to bed. Her back ached, and her hands were rough from the outdoor work. She felt overwhelmed and tired. Jake hobbled out onto the porch on his crutches. "Mind if I sit with you?" he asked. "Of course not," Sarah said. They sat quietly for a while. Then Jake spoke. "I have been watching you this week," he said. "You work harder than any person I know. You take care of all of us without complaining." "I do complain," Sarah said. "Just not where you can hear me." Jake laughed. "I want you to know how grateful I am, not just for this week, but for everything. You have made this house a home again." Sarah felt warm inside at his words. "This is my home now too," she said. "I want to take care of it. When I married you, I thought I was just getting help with Lucy in the house," Jake said. "But you have given us so much more than that." "What do you mean?" Sarah asked. "You have given us love," Jake said simply. "Real family love. The children adore you. And I—" He stopped talking and looked down at his hands. "And you what?" Sarah asked softly. "And I have grown to care about you more than I expected," Jake admitted. "This started as a business arrangement, but somewhere along the way it became real for me." Sarah felt her heart beating faster. "For me too," she said quietly. They looked at each other in the moonlight. For the first time since they had married, Sarah felt a spark of something that might become love. "I do not expect anything from you," Jake said quickly. "I know you married me for practical reasons. I do not want to make you uncomfortable." "You do not make me uncomfortable," Sarah said. "You make me feel safe and cared for. I have not felt that way since David died." "I am not trying to replace David," Jake said. "I know he was the love of your life." "He was," Sarah agreed. "But that does not mean I cannot care for someone else too. People have room in their hearts for more than one love." Jake reached over and took her hand. His hand was rough from ranch work, but his touch was gentle. "Would it be all right if I courted you properly?" he asked. "Even though we are already married?" Sarah smiled. "I would like that very much." From that night on, Things were different between them. Jake brought Sarah wildflowers when he could walk again. He told her she was beautiful when she dressed up for church. He asked her opinion about ranch decisions and listened carefully to her answers. Sarah made Jake's favorite foods. She mended his clothes with extra care. She sat with him in the evenings and listened to him talk about his dreams for the ranch. The children noticed the change too. They seemed happier when they saw their parents growing closer. One day, Lucy asked Sarah a question while they were baking bread together. "Sarah, do you love Papa?" Lucy asked. Sarah thought carefully about her answer. "I am learning to love him," she said honestly. "Is that all right with you?" "I want you to love him," Lucy said. "He has been lonely for so long. And you have been lonely too." "How do you know I was lonely?" Sarah asked, surprised. "Because lonely people recognize each other," Lucy said wisely. "But nobody in this house is lonely anymore." Sarah hugged Lucy tight. This little girl was so smart and caring. As winter approached, Sarah realized that her feelings for Jake were growing stronger every day. She looked forward to seeing him in the mornings. She missed him when he was working in the fields. She enjoyed their conversations in the evenings. It was not the same kind of love she had felt for David. That had been young love, passionate and overwhelming. This was different, quieter, steadier, built on friendship and respect and shared daily life. But it was real love, and it was growing stronger all the time. One snowy evening in November, as they sat by the fire with the children playing nearby, Jake turned to Sarah. "I have something to tell you," he said. "What is it?" Sarah asked. "I love you," Jake said simply, "not just as the mother of my children or the keeper of my house. I love you as a woman, as my wife." Sarah felt her heart fill with warmth. "I love you too," she said. "I did not think I could love again after David, but I do. I love you, Jake." "Carson." Jake smiled and took her hand. The children looked up from their game and saw their parents holding hands and smiling at each other. "Does this mean we are a real family now?" Tommy asked. "We have always been a real family," Sarah said, "but now we are a family that loves each other." Emma clapped her hands. Lucy beamed with happiness. Tommy grinned from ear to ear. Outside, the snow was falling softly on the ranch. Inside, the Carson family was warm and happy and complete at last. Spring came early to the ranch that year. The snow melted and green grass began to grow in the fields. Sarah had been married to Jake for 8 months now, and she felt like a completely different person than the desperate widow who had accepted his proposal. But spring brought new challenges. One morning in March, a letter arrived that changed everything. Jake read it at the breakfast table, and his face grew serious. "What is it?" Sarah asked. "My brother Henry is coming to visit," Jake said. "He will be here next week." Sarah could tell from Jake's voice that this was not good news. "You do not sound happy about it," she observed. "Henry and I do not get along well," Jake admitted. "He has never approved of how I run the ranch, and he definitely will not approve of our marriage." "Why not?" Sarah asked. "Because he thinks I should have married someone from a wealthy family, someone who could bring money and social connections to the ranch." Sarah felt hurt. "I see. It does not matter what Henry thinks," Jake said quickly. "I married the woman I wanted to marry, but I should warn you, he can be difficult." Henry Carson arrived the following Tuesday. He was Jake's older brother, well-dressed and well-educated. He owned a large ranch in another state and clearly thought he was very important. From the moment he walked into the house, Henry made Sarah feel unwelcome. He looked around the kitchen with disapproval, as if he could find fault with her housekeeping. "So this is the famous second wife," Henry said when Jake introduced them. "I was expecting someone different." "Different how?" Jake asked, his voice tight with anger. "Oh, you know," Henry said with a wave of his hand. "Someone more suitable for a ranch owner's wife." Sarah felt her face get hot with embarrassment. But before she could say anything, Lucy stepped forward. "Sarah is the best mother and wife in the whole world," Lucy said firmly. She takes care of all of us and she makes Papa happy. Henry looked surprised that a child would speak up to him. Children should be seen and not heard, he said coldly. Not in this house, Jake said. In this house, everyone is treated with respect. The tension in the room was thick. Sarah quickly sent the children outside to play. Over the next few days, Henry found fault with everything. He criticized the way Sarah cooked. He questioned her ability to teach the children. He made comments about her simple clothes and her rough hands. But the worst part was how he treated the children. He ignored Emma completely as if she did not exist. He was cold to Tommy, telling him that ranch work was not suitable for weak city boys. He criticized Lucy for playing instead of doing more housework. In my day, children earned their keep, Henry said at dinner one night. These children are spoiled. These children are loved, Sarah said firmly. There is a difference. Henry snorted. Love does not put food on the table or money in the bank. Actually, it does, Sarah said. Love makes people work harder and care more. This ranch is more successful now than it was before I came here. This was true. The ranch was doing very well. Sarah's careful management of the household budget meant they spent less money on supplies. Her cooking meant the hired hands stayed longer because they were well fed. Her care for the animals meant fewer got sick. And her support gave Jake more confidence in his decisions. But Henry did not want to admit this. A woman's place is in the kitchen, not in ranch business, he said. Sarah's place is wherever she chooses to be, Jake said angrily. She is my wife and my partner. That night after Henry had gone to bed, Sarah and Jake talked on the front porch. I am sorry about my brother, Jake said. He has always been this way. Why does he dislike me so much? Sarah asked. He does not even know me. Because you are not what he thinks I should have married, Jake said. He wanted me to marry the daughter of another wealthy rancher, someone who would make him look good, and instead you married a poor widow with 2 children, Sarah said sadly. I married the woman I love, Jake said firmly. The woman who makes me happy. The woman who is the best mother my daughter could ask for. Sarah felt better, but she was still upset by Henry's treatment of the children. The next day, things got worse. Henry announced that he thought Lucy should come live with him. She needs proper schooling, he said. And training in how to be a lady. She cannot get that here. Lucy started crying. I do not want to leave, she said. This is my home. Sarah is my mother now. Sarah put her arms around Lucy protectively. Lucy is not going anywhere, she said. You have no legal right to keep her, Henry said coldly. She is not your real daughter. She is my daughter in every way that matters, Sarah said. And Jake would never let you take her. Jake may not have a choice, Henry said. I have more money and influence than he does. That evening, Sarah was very quiet. Jake found her sitting in their bedroom, looking out the window. What are you thinking about? He asked. Henry, Sarah said. What if he really can take Lucy away? He cannot, Jake said. I am Lucy's father. I decide where she lives. But what if he causes trouble for us? What if he tries to hurt the ranch? Jake sat down beside her and took her hand. Sarah, are you having second thoughts about our marriage? No, Sarah said quickly. I love you and I love our life together, but I do not want to cause problems for you and Lucy. You are not causing problems, Jake said. Henry is causing problems, and I will not let him hurt our family. The crisis came to a head 2 days later. Henry announced that he was planning to go to court to get custody of Lucy. On what grounds? Jake demanded. On the grounds that she is living in an unsuitable environment, Henry said. With a stepmother who was not properly chosen. Jake stood up, his face red with anger. Get out of my house, he said. You cannot throw me out, Henry said. I am your brother. You stopped being my brother when you threatened my family, Jake said. Leave now or I will throw you out myself. Henry looked shocked. He was not used to people standing up to him. You will regret this, he said as he gathered his things. I will make sure of it. After Henry left, The house felt peaceful again, but Sarah was still worried. What if he really tries to take Lucy, she asked Jake. Then we will fight him, Jake said. Lucy is our daughter, and this is her home. That evening, the family had a meeting. Jake explained what Henry had threatened. I want you all to know that no one is going to break up our family, Jake said. We belong together. Are you sure? Lucy asked, her eyes still red from crying. I am absolutely sure, Jake said. Sarah is legally your stepmother now. This is your home. Henry cannot change that. What if he tries? Tommy asked. He had been quiet during the whole visit, but Sarah knew he was worried too. Then we will show everyone what a real family looks like, Sarah said. We will show them how much we love each other and how well we take care of each other. Can Uncle Henry really cause trouble for us? Lucy asked. He might try, Jake said honestly. But there are people in town who know us, people who can see that our family is happy and healthy, people who will speak up for us if needed. Over the next few weeks, it became clear that Henry was indeed trying to cause trouble. He spoke to people in town, trying to find someone who would say that Sarah was not a good mother, or that the children were not well cared for. But Henry had underestimated the community. The people of Willowbrook had watched Sarah's transformation from desperate widow to confident ranch wife. They had seen how much happier Jake and Lucy were. They had watched Tommy and Emma grow strong and healthy. Pastor Williams spoke up for the family. I have never seen children more loved or better cared for, he told anyone who would listen. Dr. Miller agreed. Those children are thriving. Sarah Carson is an excellent mother. Even Mr. Peterson from the general store supported them. Jake Carson has a good wife and a happy family, anyone can see that. When Henry realized that no one in town would support his case, he gave up and went home. But not before sending one last nasty letter to Jake. You have chosen a peasant woman over your own family, the letter said. Do not expect any help from me in the future. Jake threw the letter in the fire. Good, he said. We do not need his help. We have everything we need right here. That night, as Sarah tucked the children into bed, Lucy asked her a question. Sarah, were you scared that Uncle Henry might take me away? Yes, Sarah said honestly. I was very scared. I could not bear to lose you. I was scared too, Lucy said. But I knew you and Papa would protect me. Always, Sarah promised. You are my daughter, Lucy. Nothing will ever change that. As spring turned into summer, the family grew even closer because of the challenge they had faced together. They had proven that their love was stronger than outside disapproval. They had shown that families are made by love, not just by blood. And Sarah realized something important. She was no longer the desperate widow who had accepted Jake's proposal out of necessity. She was a strong woman who had chosen to fight for her family. She was Mrs. Jake Carson, and she was proud of it. The ranch prospered that summer like never before. Jake and Sarah worked together as true partners. The children were happy and healthy, and their love continued to grow stronger every day. Henry Carson could disapprove all he wanted. It did not matter. They had something he would never understand. A family built on love, respect, and genuine care for each other, and that was worth more than all the money and social standing in the world. 1 year later, Sarah stood in the same kitchen where she had first accepted Jake's proposal. But everything was different now. The house was full of laughter and warmth. The children were healthy and happy, and Sarah's heart was full of love she had never expected to feel again. It was their first wedding anniversary. Jake had surprised her by arranging for Mrs. Johnson to watch the children so they could have dinner alone together. I have something for you, Jake said, pulling out a small wrapped package. Sarah opened it carefully. Inside was a beautiful silver locket with a picture of their whole family inside. Jake, Sarah, Lucy, Tommy, and Emma all smiling together. It is beautiful, Sarah said, tears in her eyes. Thank you. There is something engraved on the back, Jake said. Sarah turned the locket over and read, To Sarah, who made our house a home and our family complete. Love, Jake. I love it, Sarah said. And I love you, Jake fastened the locket around her neck. "I have been thinking about this past year," he said. "When I asked you to marry me, I thought I knew what I was getting. A housekeeper, a mother for Lucy, a practical arrangement. And instead?" Sarah asked. "Instead, I got the love of my life," Jake said simply. "I got a woman who made me remember what happiness feels like. I got a partner who makes me a better man." Sarah felt her heart swell with love. "You saved us, Jake. Tommy, Emma, and me. We would have had nothing if you had not offered us a home." "You saved me too," Jake said. "I was just existing before you came. Now I am truly living." They held each other close, remembering how far they had come. The children had grown so much in the past year. Tommy was now 9 years old and could ride a horse almost as well as Jake. He had started going to school in town and was learning to read and write. His dreams were full of becoming a rancher like his stepfather. Emma was 4 now and chattering constantly. She followed Lucy everywhere and called her "my sister Lucy" to anyone who would listen. She had completely accepted Jake as her father and called him Papa without any hesitation. And Lucy, sweet Lucy, had blossomed into a confident 11-year-old who knew she was loved and valued. She had learned so much from Sarah about cooking, sewing, and taking care of a home. But more importantly, she had learned what it felt like to be cherished by a mother. The ranch was thriving too. Jake and Sarah worked together as true partners. Sarah had learned to manage the financial side of the ranch, keeping careful records of expenses and profits. Her practical mind helped Jake make better decisions about when to buy and sell cattle. They had hired 2 more ranch hands and bought additional land. The cattle herd had grown from 50 to over 100 head. The ranch that had once been just successful was now one of the most prosperous in the county. But success had not changed them. They still worked hard every day. They still valued family time over money. They still treated their workers fairly and their neighbors kindly. On this anniversary evening, as they sat on their front porch after dinner, Sarah thought about all the changes in her life. "Do you ever think about what would have happened if you had not made that proposal?" she asked Jake. "Every day," Jake said seriously. "I think about how lonely Lucy and I would still be. I think about how empty this house would feel. I think about where my children and I would be," Sarah said. "Probably in some horrible place, struggling just to survive. Tommy and Emma might not have had enough food or warm clothes for winter." "But that did not happen," Jake said, taking her hand. "We found each other instead." "It was not really chance, was it?" Sarah said thoughtfully. "You chose to help us. You could have ignored our troubles like most people did." "I could not ignore you," Jake said. "Something about your family called to my heart. Maybe it was seeing Tommy try to be brave for his mother. Maybe it was watching Emma cling to you so trustingly. Maybe it was seeing how hard you worked to take care of them." "What was it really?" Sarah asked. Jake was quiet for a moment. "I think it was seeing myself in you," he said finally. "I recognized the loneliness. I recognized the fear. I recognized someone who was trying to be strong for the people they loved." Sarah squeezed his hand. "We were both broken when we met. And we healed each other," Jake said. Just then the children came running up the porch steps. Mrs. Johnson had brought them home earlier than planned. "Mama, Papa," Emma called out. "Mrs. Johnson let us pick flowers for you." All 3 children presented Sarah and Jake with bouquets of wildflowers they had picked. "For your anniversary," Lucy explained, "to show you how happy we are that you got married." "They are beautiful," Sarah said, accepting the flowers. "Thank you, my darlings." "Can we have cake now?" Tommy asked hopefully. Sarah laughed. "Yes, we can have cake now." As they all went inside together, Sarah looked back at the porch where she and Jake had shared so many quiet conversations. That porch had been the witness to their growing love. In the kitchen, Sarah cut the anniversary cake she had made earlier. It was chocolate, Jake's favorite. The children chattered excitedly about their day with Mrs. Johnson. "She taught us a new card game," Lucy said, "and she let us help make cookies," Tommy added. "I got flour everywhere, Emma said proudly. Jake and Sarah exchanged amused glances. Their children were so happy and secure now. They took their good life for granted, the way children should. Later that evening, after the children had gone to bed, Jake and Sarah sat together in their bedroom. It was the same room where Sarah had spent so many lonely nights when she first moved to the ranch. Now it felt like home. "I have a confession to make," Jake said. "What kind of confession?" Sarah asked, suddenly worried. "I was not completely honest about why I proposed to you," Jake said. Sarah felt her heart skip a beat. "What do you mean?" "I told you it was purely practical," Jake said. "But the truth is, I had been watching you for weeks before I made the proposal, and I was attracted to you." "Attracted to me?" Sarah said, surprised. "You were so beautiful even in your sadness," Jake said. "So strong even in your desperation. I told myself it was just a practical arrangement, but part of me hoped it might become something more." Sarah smiled. "I have a confession too." "What is it?" "When I first saw this house, I did not just think about how safe it would be for my children," Sarah said. "I thought about what it would be like to live here with you. Even though I barely knew you, something about you made me feel hopeful." "Really?" Jake asked. "Really," Sarah said. "Maybe we both knew, deep down, that this could be more than just an arrangement." "Maybe we did," Jake agreed. They held each other close, grateful for the love that had grown between them. The next morning brought a wonderful surprise. A letter arrived from the territorial governor, announcing that Jake had been appointed to the county council. It was a great honor and showed how much respect he had earned in the community. "This is wonderful," Sarah said, reading the letter. "You will be able to help make important decisions for everyone in the county." "We will be able to help," Jake corrected. "I want you to be involved in this too. Your ideas about education and helping families in need could make a real difference." Sarah felt proud and excited. She had come so far from the desperate widow who had once begged for work in town. Now she would have a chance to help other families in difficult situations. That afternoon, Pastor Williams came to visit with more good news. The church was starting a fund to help widows and orphans in the county, and they wanted Sarah to help organize it. "You understand what these families are going through," Pastor Williams said, "and you have shown that with the right help, they can build good lives for themselves." "I would be honored to help," Sarah said. As the months passed, Sarah found great satisfaction in her work with struggling families. She helped arrange practical marriages for other widows. She found jobs for young men who had lost their fathers. She organized donations of food and clothing for families in need. One day, a young widow came to see her. The woman had 2 small children and no money. Her situation was exactly what Sarah's had been 2 years earlier. "I heard you might be able to help me," the woman said desperately. Sarah looked at the woman's thin children and remembered her own desperation. "Yes," she said, "I can help you." By the end of the year, Sarah had helped arrange 3 practical marriages and found jobs for dozens of people. The work gave her a sense of purpose beyond her own family, but her family remained the center of her world. Tommy was excelling in school and talking about becoming a teacher someday. Emma was learning her letters and loved to help with everything. Lucy had grown into a responsible young lady who still made time for fun and laughter. And Jake continued to be the man Sarah had fallen in love with. Hardworking, kind, devoted to his family, and deeply in love with his wife. On Christmas Eve of their 2nd year together, the whole family gathered around the Christmas tree. The children opened their presents with excitement. Sarah had made new clothes for everyone. Jake had carved wooden toys for the children and bought Sarah a beautiful shawl. As they sat together by the fireplace, with the children playing with their new toys, Sarah thought about the Christmas 2 years ago. She had been alone with her children in a cold cabin, with no money for presents and little food for dinner. Now look at them. They had a warm, beautiful home. They had plenty of food and nice clothes.